Good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever you have it. I've considered making this into a quote-unquote, ASMR stream. I don't know. Never done that before. Good evening. No? Yeah, no. We'll see. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm just reading this book. I got this book, as well as How Successful People Think, when I was in the military. But I never read the books. I just had them. I just had these books ever since I was in the military, and I just never read them. So, might as well finally, out of the blue, decide to just read them and see what happens. I have no idea any of the contents of these books. I got them solely as, like, when I was there, as like a channeling method. Or like, if I had them in my proximity, then I'd be able to, like, take their energy and what they had within them. Really weird. So I just never read them. But it's an actual book, which means I have to read it this way. Everybody ready out there in the chat? Starship Troopers, I wonder why. It's a very worrying book for the military to be telling people to read. Ender's Game, yeah, same thing. Art of War, I kind of get that. But Ender's Game and Starship Troopers. Ender's Game is just where they put children in, like, video games and pretend that it's a video game. But they're just actually leading wars and, like, battles, and it's fucked. Starship Troopers, we all know the deal. See, that could be said, but, you know it's the military. They'll be like, don't do this, wink, wink, and then, it's like hinting towards you to be, kind of be like that, but just don't be that, whack. Can't really trust their intentions. Ah, big Navy. I get that. Big Army was a wacky thing. Hello, Vmon. Welcome to the stream. I should have fire crackles going on in the background. Would that be cinematic? As if I'm reading by a campfire. With Pink Floyd. Absolutely foolery. Hello, everybody. Should probably turn on streamer mode. There we go. Alrighty. Again, I'll be reading How Successful People Lead by John C. Maxwell, a #1 New York Times bestselling author. Taking your influence to the next level. Let's begin. How Successful People Lead, Taking Your Influence to the Next Level, John C. Maxwell. This book is dedicated to Equip, www.iequip.org, and all the people who are a part of this leadership organization. Equip's Rule of 5. Every day we think globally, evaluate our leadership strategy, create resources, develop associate trainers, partners, and donors, train leaders to train leaders. Millions of leaders are being trained because of your efforts. Thanks. Equip.org. Or iequip.org. Thank you for the follow. Introduction. Actually, let me get my songs again. Okay, there we go. Introduction. If your vision of success includes starting an organization, owning a company, or putting together a team, you need to become good at leadership. If you cannot lead well, you will not be successful. When I discovered this, the author, leadership became one of my passions. I love learning about it. I also enjoy teaching it. I've dedicated more than 30 years of my life to helping others learn what I know about leading. In fact, I spend about 80 days every year teaching leadership. In the last several years, I've taught it on 6 continents. The subject is inexhaustible. Why? Because everything rises and falls on leadership. If you want to make a positive impact on the world, learning to lead better will help you do it. In all the years that I've taught leadership, there has been one lecture that I have been asked to give more often than any other, from West Point to Microsoft headquarters and in countries all around the world. Why is it so popular that lectures explain That lecture explains how successful people lead and provides a game plan for learning how to become a leader. It's titled The 5 Levels of Leadership, and it has been used to train leaders in companies of every size and configuration, from small businesses to Fortune 100 companies. It has been used to help non-profit organizations understand how to lead volunteers, and taught in more than 120 countries around the world. The concept is tested and proven. It also instructs people in the use of several tried and true techniques that will help them become successful at leadership. Looking at leadership as a series of levels that can be gained through targeted actions has many benefits. Here are just a few. 1. It creates a clear picture of leadership. For those who are not naturally gifted at it, leadership can be a mystery. For them, leading people is like walking down a dark corridor. They have a sense of where they want to go, but they can't see ahead and they don't know where the problems and pitfalls are going to lie. For many people in the academic world, leadership is a theoretical exercise, an equation whose variables are worthy of research, study, and rigorous debate. In contrast, the 5 levels of leadership is visually straightforward, so anyone can learn it. 2. It defines leading as a verb, not a noun. Leadership is a process, not a position. There was a time when people used the terms leadership and management interchangeably. I think most people now recognize that there's a significant difference between the two. Management is at its best when things stay the same. Leadership deals with people and their dynamics, which are continually changing. The challenge of leadership is to create change and facilitate growth. Those conditions require movement, which, as you will soon see, is inherent in moving up from one level of leadership to the next. It breaks down leading into understandable steps. The subject of leadership can be overwhelming and confusing. Where does leadership start? What should we do first? What processes should we use? How can we gain influence with others? How can we develop a productive team? How do we help followers become leaders in their own right? The 5 levels give answers to these questions and using understandable steps. Finally, it provides a clear game plan for leadership development. Not really finally, I don't know if this is nice, I have to flip the page. Too often when people think of their journey into leadership, they envision a career path. What they should be thinking about is their own leadership development. Good leadership isn't about advancing yourself. It's about advancing your team. The 5 levels of leadership provides clear steps for leadership growth. Lead people well and help members of your team to become effective leaders, and a successful career path is almost guaranteed. Gotta flip the page. This one's the last one for this. It aligns leadership practices, principles, and values. When the author developed the 5 levels, he conceived of each level as a practice that could be used to lead more effectively. As time went by and he used and taught the levels, he realized there were actually principles. Here's the difference. A practice is an action that may work in one situation but not necessarily in another. A principle is an external truth that is reliable as a physical law. For example, when Solomon said, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger," he stated a principle that is universal and timeless. Principles are important because they function as a map, allowing us to make wise decisions. If we embrace a principle and internalize it, it becomes a part of our values. The 5 levels influences my leadership life every day, so says the author. What I'm going to assume is chapter 1. How do people learn leadership? For most, it's through trial and error. While some things come only through experience, I believe the framework for how leadership works can be learned by looking at the 5 levels. So let's start with an overview and a few insights about the levels and how they work. Then we can look at each level individually in the subsequent sections of this book. As you look at each level, you will learn the upside, downside, and best behaviors for that level. You will also become acquainted with the beliefs that help a leader move up to the next level. Level 1. Position. People follow you because they have to. Position is the lowest level of leadership, the entry level. The only influence a positional leader has is that which comes from the job title. Positional leadership is based on the rights granted by the position and title. Nothing is wrong with having a leadership position. Everything is wrong with using the position to get people to follow you. Position is a poor substitute for influence. He then shows a diagram of the 5 levels of leadership, where at the bottom, position is there because people are there. People follow you because they have to. Whereas on the second level, it says permission, relationships. People follow you because they want to. On the third level, production, where it's based off of results. People follow because of what you have done for the organization. 4. People development, reproduction. People follow you because of what you have done for them. And 5. The pinnacle. People follow you because of who you are and what you represent. Does anybody out there in the chat know anybody like that? Can you put yourself into any of those 5 pieces of the leadership plan? Or plot line, I suppose? I'll read it one more time to let people hear as they're making their decisions, or if they've actually seen or heard people like that before. Position, being at the bottom. People follow you because they have to. It's number 2. Permission. People follow you because they want to. Production. People follow because of what you have done for the organization. 4. People development. People follow you because of what you have done for them. 5. Pinnacle. People follow because of who you are and what you represent. People who make it only to level 1 may be bosses, but they are never leaders. They have subordinates, not team members. They rely on rules, regulations, policies, and organization charts to control their people. Their people will only follow them within the stated boundaries of their authority. And their people will usually do only what is required of them. When positional leaders ask for extra effort or time, they rarely get it. Positional leaders usually have difficulty working with volunteers, younger people, and the highly educated. Why? Because positional leaders have no influence. And these types of people tend to be more independent. Position is the only level that does not require ability and effort to achieve. Anyone can be appointed to a position. Level 2. Permission. People follow you because they want to. Level 2 is based entirely upon relationships. On the permission level, people follow because they want to. When you like people and treat them as individuals who have value, you begin to develop influence with them. You develop trust. The environment becomes much more positive, whether at home, on the job, at play, or while volunteering. The agenda for leaders on level 2 isn't preserving their position. It's getting to know their people and figuring out how to get along with them. Leaders find out who their people are. Followers find out who their leaders are. People build solid, lasting relationships. You can like people without leading them, but you cannot lead people well without liking them. That's what level 2 is about. Level 3. Production. People follow you because of what you have done for the organization. One of the dangers of getting to the permission level is that a leader may be tempted to stop there. But good leaders don't just create a pleasant working environment. They get things done. That's why they must move up to level 3, which is based on results. On the production level, leaders gain influence and credibility, and people begin to follow them because of what they have done for the organization. Many positive things begin happening when leaders get to level 3. Work gets done, morale improves, profits go up, turnover goes down. And goals are achieved. It is also on level 3 that momentum kicks in. Leading and influencing others becomes fun on this level. Success and productivity have been known to solve a lot of problems. On level 3, leaders can become change agents. They can tackle tough problems and face thorny issues. They can make the difficult decisions that will make a difference. They can take their people to another level of effectiveness. Level 4. People development. People follow you because of what you have done for them. Leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. This is what leaders do on level 4. They use their position, relationships, and productivity to invest in their followers and develop them until their followers become leaders in their own right. The result is reproduction. Level 4 leaders reproduce themselves. Production may win games, but people development wins championships. Two things always happen at level 4. First, teamwork goes to a very high level because the high investment in people deepens relationships, helps people to know one another better, and strengthens loyalty. Second, performance increases because there are more leaders on the team, and they help to improve everybody's performance. Level 4 leaders change the lives of the people they lead, and the people follow them because of that. Their relationships are lifelong. Usually. And level 5. People follow you because of who you are and what you represent. Good song. Everlong by Foo Fighters. Level 5. Pinnacle. People follow you because of who you are and what you represent. The highest and most difficult level of leadership is the pinnacle. While most people can learn to climb to levels 1 through 4, level 5 requires not only effort, skill, and intentionality, but also a high level of talent. Only naturally gifted leaders ever make it to this highest level. Level 5 leaders develop people to become level 4 leaders. Developing leaders to the point where they are able and willing to develop other leaders is the most difficult leadership task of all. But here are the payoffs. Level 5 leaders develop level 5 organizations. They create opportunities that other leaders don't. Their leadership gains a positive reputation, and they create legacy in what they do. As a result, level 5 leaders often transcend their position, their organization, and sometimes their industry. So, does anybody out there think that they know somebody on one of these levels? A good moment to take a drink of water. Thank you much, Foolery. You as well, Fukuro. Def have the chips to hit 5? I mean, sure, I sure hope so. Thank you, Bear. Thank you, Ditford. But other people outside of me, you know, other leaders of the syndicate, etc. Well, my dogs are saying hello. That means that people have come home. I'll continue. Bear's actually riding that 3-4 line, if you ask me. Production and people development. Even me, Fukuro. Everybody has room to grow. Insights on leading from the levels. If you want to become an effective leader and lead the way successful people do, then you must master the 5 levels of leadership. You must learn to recognize where you stand with each person in regards to the level. Work to establish your credibility and gain influence where you are. And earn your way up to higher levels. If you learn this and live it day to day, you'll be able to lead the way successful people do. Now that you are acquainted with the levels and how influence is gained on each, the author wishes to share some insights that will help you understand how the levels relate to one another. Number 1. You can move up a level, but you can never leave the previous one behind. You may assume that a leader climbs the levels, leaving one to arrive at the next. The way a person moves up a staircase. But the truth is that you never leave a level behind after you've achieved it. Instead, you simply build upon it. If you think about it for a moment, you'll agree that it makes sense. If you start out with leadership position, and you build relationships with the people you oversee, do you resign your position to do so? No. You don't leave your position to advance, but if you win level 2 correctly, you'll never need to rely on your position again. Once you've built relationships with people and moved to a higher level of productivity, do you abandon or neglect those relationships? You better not. If you do, you'll find yourself back at level 1 again. Leaders don't trade one level for another. They add a new level to the previous one. It's a building process. Number 2. You are not the same. You are not on the same level with every person. Leadership is dynamic, and it changes from relationship to relationship. The same is true for the 5 levels of leadership. I may be on a different one of the 5 levels with each of the 5 different people at my job, says the author. A person on his or her first day at work will acknowledge only their position, while someone in whom they've invested and whom they've raised up to lead will likely put them on a level 4. If the author has been a good father at home, he may be on a level 4 with his children, but if he's been an absentee dad, he may be on a level 1. With his next-door neighbor, perhaps he's on a level 2, and people respond to you based on the level of leadership you establish with them, and that is subject to change. Good leaders do not lead everyone the same way, because every person is different and you're not on the same level of leadership with every person. Effective leaders interact with followers based on where they are with each specific follower, where the followers perceive the leader to be, and where the followers are in their own leadership development. Each of these factors comes into play as you evaluate your leadership and work to develop it. Achieving a level of leadership is not like earning a degree. Nor is it setting a performance record as an athlete. You don't achieve it and leave it. It's more like having to run a race every day to prove your ability. I get that. This is me talking. And I get that completely. Every single day, it's like I have to fight, you know. The lone exception is the pinnacle. Leaders who rise to level 5 are sometimes given credit for being on that level by virtue of their reputation, not just their personal interactions with followers. But it's important to note that at any level, a leader does not always automatically stay at that level. You must earn your level of leadership with each person, and the level can go up and down at any time. Number 3. The higher you go, the easier it is to lead others. Here's some good news. As you work to climb up the levels of leadership, you'll find that it gets easier to lead people. Each advance allows you to be more effective in leading others because your influence increases as you go to a higher level. As your influence increases, more people follow you. More readily. More people follow you more readily. Limited influence, limited leadership, greater influence, greater effectiveness. That's common sense. However, there's also some bad news. It's not easy to climb the levels of leadership. If it were easy, everyone would be at a level 5 leader. Number 4. The higher you go, the more time and commitment is required to win a level. There's no easy way to get to the top. You have to be more committed. You have to give more. You have to use more energy each time you want to go up a level. And so do your people. Nobody achieves anything great by giving the minimum. No team wins championships without making sacrifices and giving their best. Number 5. Moving up occurs slowly, but going down can happen quickly. Building always takes a lot longer than destroying. A lot of things have to be right, only one thing going wrong to cause someone to fall. But it only takes one thing going wrong to cause someone to fall. For example, think about how long it takes to build a great relationship with a person. But if you do something to lose trust with that person, the relationship can become permanently broken in the blink of an eye. While it's unsettling to think about how quickly one can fall from a level of leadership, I hope you can take solace in this. Once you've climbed to higher levels, the levels below you function as a safety net. So the more you've advanced up the levels, the more secure your leadership is. For example, If you make some bad decisions at level 3, that will ruin your productivity or that of the team. The relationships you develop may save you from being fired. The only level without a safety net is the lowest one, position. You don't get too many chances to make mistakes on that level. That's another good reason to work your way up to the levels of leadership. Number 6. The higher you go, the greater the return. You may give more to climb to higher levels of leadership, but you get more too. As a leader, you reap a greater return on your investment with each level you reach. On level 2, you earn trust and the right to lead. On level 3, you add to the productivity of the organization. On level 4, you multiply that productivity because every time you add another leader to an organization, you add all the horsepower of that leader's team. On level 5, the growth and productivity become exponential as you add leaders to the organization who not only lead others, but also create generations of leaders who keep on producing. The better the leaders are in an organization, the better everyone in the organization becomes. When productivity is high, chemistry is good. Morale is high and the momentum is strong. Then the payoffs increase. Number 7. Moving farther up always requires further growth. Each time a leader moves up to a higher level of leadership, greater skill is required. For that reason, each step of growth requires further development on the part of the leader. But that growth also functions as a platform from which a leader can grow into the next. Here's how this works. To grow to a new level, leaders take risks. At lower levels, the risks are small and more easily won. For example, to make the climb from level 1 to level 2, leaders risk initiating relationships. When leaders get to higher levels, the risk gets bigger. I can give a reference for that out of the book really quick, talking to you all in the chat. I can give an example therein that the climb it took from level 1 to level 2 for me in terms of the syndicate was when we were originally getting together as the Lali Mafia. We started out as just me proclaiming myself as the Don of that House of Mortem, of the Lali Mafia, or, Don of the Lali Mafia, the House of Mortem. Once I did that, people started gathering to me as I recruited, and then I started to build friendships and relationships and whatnot with these people. These people knew me and I knew them, and in turn we started to hang out a lot more. This also helped when I brought in people like from outside of some that sphere of people that I was recruiting, people that I already knew and people that wanted to be around me or talk with me and hang out, that thus knew already who I was as a person, making it easier to build a relationship and build a reputation based off of the words that those people said. By the by, if anybody has any questions out there in the chat before I continue reading, you're free to ask them. I'll wait a couple of minutes while I check some stuff. I'll probably finish this chapter, and we'll make this a routine thing where we read like a chapter a day. Am I going to post this? I'll probably post it as a video. I can post it as a video on YouTube, and then y'all can just refer back to it. Because all of this information that I'm reading is in a book, like a physical book. So I don't really have the opportunity to just like type it all out, because I'm not rewriting a book, you know. I've already done that. Well, I'll give you time to think up a question, Envy. But if there's no other questions, then I'll just continue. I'll start back at the beginning. Here's how this works. To grow to a new level, leaders take risks. At the lower levels, the risks are smaller and more easily won. For example, to make the climb from level 1 to level 2, leaders risk initiating relationships. When leaders get to higher levels, the risk gets bigger. For example, on level 3, leaders may rally the team to try to accomplish a lofty goal, only to fail. And that could cost the leader credibility, stop momentum, and demotivate team members. But here's the good news. Every risk at a higher level is a natural extension of the skills the leaders have by then developed. Outsiders might look at the leader and say, wow, he really stepped out and took a big risk. But those observers may not see the growth that has occurred in the leader. And say, wow. But those observers may not see the growth that has occurred in the leader. By the time the next risk must be undertaken, the leader has grown into it. Growing as a leader requires a combination of an intentional growth and leadership experience. If people rely only on experience without intentionally learning and preparing for the next level, they won't progress as leaders. On the other hand, if they only prepare mentally yet obtain no experience through risk and reward, and trial and error, then they still won't progress. It takes both, plus some amount of talent, but you have no control over how much talent you possess. You control only what you do with it. If you possess a natural gift for leadership, you probably have a passion for growth. You like to see things build. It's part of your wiring. Go with it. If you have a more modest amount of talent, don't lose hope. You can make up for a lot by becoming a highly intentional student of leadership, thereby making the most of every opportunity. Either way, remember that success at any level helps you to be successful at every level. So work hard to win the level you're working toward now. It will prepare you for the future. Number 8. Not climbing the levels limits you and your people. The law of the lid and the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership states, leadership ability determines a person's level of effectiveness. In short, your effectiveness in getting things done and your ability to work through others is always limited by your leadership ability. If your leadership score is 4 out of 10, then your effectiveness will be no higher than a 4. Additionally, the law of respect says people naturally follow leaders stronger than themselves. That means that if you remain a 4, then you will never attract and keep any leaders better than a 3. One of the burdens of leadership is that as we go, so go the people we lead. Reaching our potential sets an environment for others to reach theirs. When leaders stop climbing, 2 questions need to be asked. Can they improve, and will they improve? Some people can't. They've reached their limit. Others won't. Capacity is not the problem. Choice and attitude are. If people are willing to choose improvement and change their attitude, the sky is the limit. Your leadership ability today is whatever it is. You can't change the past, however, you can change the future. You have a choice concerning your leadership ability from this day forward. If you learn to climb the levels of leadership, your leadership ability will improve, and that will positively impact your overall leadership capacity. However, if you choose not to grow as a leader, you better get used to being wherever you currently are, because your situation isn't likely to improve. Number 9. When you change positions or organizations, you seldom stay at the same level. Every time you lead a new person, you start the process over again. People don't recognize you as a level 4 or a people developer if you haven't worked with them. You have to earn that. The same goes for level 3 and 2. You start over at level 1. However, there is good news. If you reach level 4 with some other group of people, you already know how to get there. And because you've done it before, you can move up the levels much more quickly than the previous time. Each time you go through the process with a new group of people, you become even more skilled at it. And after you've done it enough times, you won't be discouraged by the prospect of having to repeat it with others. Positional leaders are reluctant to have to start over, because they think of leadership as a destination instead of a process, a noun instead of a verb. They want to hold on to what they have. Their hope is to do it once and be done. Good leaders are willing to re-earn their way back into leadership because they understand that the leadership life will almost always require them to start again at the bottom more than once. Number 10. You cannot climb the levels alone. One of my favorite sayings is, if you think you're leading but no one is following, then you're only taking a walk. That thought captures the true nature of leadership and also expresses the most important insight about the 5 levels of leadership. To succeed as a leader, you must help others follow up the levels. The entire process includes other people, focuses on helping them. I believe every person has the ability to improve in leadership. Becoming a successful leader isn't a mystical object or subject. It can be approached very practically, and everyone has the potential to move up to a higher level of leadership. What is your potential? Do you have the capacity and the desire to become a level 3, 4, or 5 leader? There's only one way to find out. Accept the leadership challenge. Give growth your best effort, and dive into leadership. If you're willing to pick up the gauntlet, you'll never regret it, because there is no way better to increase your positive impact on the world and add value to others than to increase your leadership ability. I believe this book, with its guides for growth at each level, will help you navigate the process and help you climb. So, good reading, good growing, and as my friend Zig Ziglar says, I'll see you at the top. That's the end of the first section of the book. The next section would be level 1 position. It's a great place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there. This book, I imagine, is going to be structured where each chapter is based off of a different level of leadership. This next level is going to be based off of the basic layer, the first layer, where somebody is put into a position of power, of leadership, and now they, are just sitting there. So does anybody have any questions out there in the wilds? I can try my best to answer them based off of what I know, and in turn, we can work together on trying to find some answers. I will say that I don't want to put this video too long, though, because, well, people aren't going to watch the whole thing if it's forever. My fatigue is starting to come back. Reading makes the mind hurt. Again, this is a time for questions. If you have questions, you're free to ask them. I'll give you all one more opportunity. Indeed, Viman. After this, I'll probably go back to sleep. What's your question? Also, for everybody, if you want to discuss leaders that you know of, and base what you know about that leader in reference to this book, and talk about that in the chat, you are free to do so. You could even use me as a reference if you want to. I'd be fine with that. But what is your question, Envy? What do you do when you feel like you failed in so many aspects of leadership? You feel the weight of the world on your shoulders and it doesn't feel as if things are getting better or the burden lighter. Oftentimes, I start back at the beginning. Whenever I fail at something, I start back at the beginning of what it is that I failed at, and I try to rework it in a different way. Do things differently. Change my approach. In terms of this book, I feel it'd be probably answering that question in a similar way, where if you feel as if you are not doing things correctly and you're failing in so many different aspects of leadership, they say you're probably going to have to start again at level 1 and work your way back up. Level 1 being you just are in the position. Level 2, Level 2, getting people personally on that personal level to follow you, to want to be, viewing you as their leader. Once you get the people that you want, in terms of you as a leader, your chosen group, your collective, once you have that, once you've gotten that, then you'd likely be able to move up to production. People follow because of what you have done for the organization. Accomplishing things in the syndicate. Building up a history and a reputation of something extreme or badass or something memorable. Once you've done that, then you can move up to level 4 and begin on that people development, allowing for you to work with the people that you have within your house or within your groups and just working to build them up individually. And as they grow, then you too grow, and then collectively all of that which you have grows as well. I think that would answer your question, Envy, is just start over. Start from the beginning and work your way back up, doing things differently. I believe in you, Envy. Well, that's where we're ending our reading, essentially, today, Fukuro. Once all the questions are taken care of, then I'll be ending the stream, and then I'll go and read another chapter tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after, and so on and so forth. I'll do recaps each time that we start anew. If there are no questions, if nobody has any questions, you are you are free to ask them in my DMs as well. At any time. Oh, you have another question, Envy? Ask. How do you work as a leader of a house to balance what you want, but what your house needs? Your desires as a leader of a house should always be to the benefit of what the house wants, what it needs. You as a leader of your house need nothing more than the success of your people. And as much as that may sound strange in terms of this, I believe it to be true, because without your house, you are nothing. You aren't a Don if you're not the leader of your house. You are not, the DM of that location. You're not in that position that requires your constant, efforts and position and whatnot. You're not there. If you are not there, then ultimately, what's the point of you having the position in the first place? How do you work as a leader of a house to balance what you want but what your house needs? Understand that obviously you'll need to take breaks every so often, but your house's needs are varied. You need to know that you can provide them shelter, food, water. You need to know that you can outfit them and equip them with various weaponry and things of that nature that is associated with your house. You need to ensure that they are entertained, that things are happening, so that they're never bored. And so long as you know that the things are happening and they're not bored and things are working and you're building and developing those relationships, then you've gotten pretty much all that you need to do. You get a checklist of things that you have to do just based off of simply looking at everything that needs to get done. I think that's the way to do it. I mean, I've done it with the Imperials. I've done it with, every vassal house that is currently functioning to a high enough degree. I still have to work on the other vassal houses, but that comes with time and the energy that is available to apply to fix people. I think that's the answer to your question, Envy. It's rare, but it's there, Envy. When is later? Do you understand that you need a break? I'm going to assume that you're asking me, when do you know that you need a break as a leader? When... I believe you'll know when you need to have a break as a leader when you're starting to hate what you do. When you're starting to dislike having to do the job that you're doing. When you start to dislike it, or you start to try to avoid it by doing other things, that's when you know that you need a break. You're getting over encumbered by a lot of it. It's exhausting. It's tiring. And ultimately, you just don't have enough energy to be at that level of leader that you need to be. And so you take a break. You step back for a moment and be like, okay, I need to breathe. And once you've taken your breaths and you've brushed yourself off, you've drank your water and you've done your thing, then you head back into the race. You start running again. Start leading the people. It's all good, Vemon. Any last minute questions? It is good books, Yaren. Fukuro asks, what do you think is the best course of action we can take moving forward? It seems like the Scions are getting a lot of heat and they just don't understand exactly where it's coming from. It seems like no one will talk to them about it so they can fix it. People view you, Fukuro, as an enabler of irritation, I feel. People view you as an enabler for the actions of the people that are in your house that are making other people just dislike it. Dislike the house and dislike the people in it because of their actions, of their personalities and the things that they do. Allowing for people that are not representatives of your house, or allowing for people that are representing your house to act and speak negatively and present themselves as just dislikable, makes it extremely difficult for you as a leader of your house to be able to shake that image, because that's the image of your people. It might not be you, it might not be, your consigliere, but if it's the people, and the people are seen more often than your consigliere or you, that's what they know. That's what the people see. And the more that people see that, the more that people just develop their own opinions regarding it, and then see that you do nothing about it and really can't approach you about it, because if they've not seen any changes happen previously when approached about it or spoken about it, or when whether it's handled aggressively or with the interests of everybody in mind, makes it difficult. I feel that the Scions, the problem that the Scions have right now is that the representation of the house itself is being handled by people that which are not likely the best representatives for it. Crab is a good representative. Jackal is a good representative. You have the potential to be a good representative, Fukuro. But your image yourself is also kind of detract based off of who you hang around with, and how you interact with them and what you let them do. I imagine there's also some form of, hereditary bias, because people are really disinterested in the idea of having to go through another house, fucking up and doing something stupid and causing other people to suffer for it. The interactions and the way that people interact, a part of the Scions with other people, leaves a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. People avoid you, people don't want to talk to you, both in and out of character, because these people view you, or in terms of the Scions, as just this entity of pretension, or elitism, or irritation, when most of the time they too are just as fragile as everybody else in the world. And ultimately, I can't just point out every single thing about, where things are going good and where things are going bad on stream, but I believe that that's just my overview of it. I hope that answered the question. What do I think serpents could work on? Presence. If the leadership is only present in a managerial and administrative aspect, not really leaders, are they? If they don't just go from serpent member to serpent's member and just talk with them and interact and help to develop their ideas and stories and characters, and they're really just there to be in a position. In the beginning, when Serpents was created, it was a group of friends. It was a group of people that worked together and wanted to build and grow together and do something that made a difference, to make an impact, to make a stance, to make a statement. But as Serpents carried on and they grew larger, its images and ideas did not grow with it. It is still viewed as just that group of friends and, that group of people that just do what they do, and, that's that. They have trainings, they fight and do all this that they can together, but there's no actual, administrative growth. The people that are at the head of it do not currently grow with the needs of the organization itself. And I believe in some aspects they're very happy with just remaining complacent and positioned where they are. They don't want to grow. They don't want to make themselves more. They don't want to make a difference beyond what they have now. I've noticed that there's more pushes for hostage takings and kidnappings than actual recruitments that'll help to expand the Serpent's regiment. I've noticed that the amount of time and the amount of effort that's put into, Serpent's meetings is lacking. People just go through the same old routine questionnaires and then they go on their way. There might be more serpents that are active, quote unquote, but does it really matter if they're not doing anything more? It is, Sierra. Though these things don't really recruit people, other than Lohawk. It is one person who is not a leader of the house, doing all of these things to ensure that the house itself grows. It is not being pushed from the top down. It is just the people themselves trying to build up the mound of the anthill. How should you approach gaining knowledge for your people when knowledge on this topic is so limited due to how little information they have? Well, you've already got the answers to your questions right there. Due to how little information you have, what are you going to do to acquire it? Could go rob libraries or read books on religion and the arts. View artistry and tapestries that are written in the works of God, in terms of like painters that are bemused by the heavens and doing that sort of thing. You could turn it into a criminal aspect with the syndicate where it's, you know, we need to go to the museum and steal some, you know, artifacts or things of a, or pieces of a puzzle. Or, you know, return objects back to their rightful locations. All these sorts of things. And as you start to progress these things and the heavens start to pay attention to you more, it makes it a little easier for information to be given to you, because people know that you're looking for it. Maybe, Sierra. Indeed. Yes, Envy. God isn't going to look at a group of Nefeshi and see, you know, worshippers. You've got to go out on your own. You got to go and do things on your own. Away from Babylon or away from other people that might detract from what it is that you're trying to do. Creation of your own identity. The British have been doing that for millennia at this point. I walk a lonely road, the only one that I've ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's only me and I walk alone. Derpina Jones. If there's no other questions regarding the book, though, I'll be moving towards the end of this stream. Rest is calling for me again. Yes, sleep is calling for me. The Archlich trials are beginning. I'll see you in 16 years. Oh, I don't have. Let's see. Let's raid somebody. Not Sachi. Not Meathamsky, but you know, there's a guy that used to be in the Imperials by the name of Tropical Coco, who's currently streams for Fractured Thrones. So you know what? Could say could say hello to him. Here. Everybody prepare your syndicate sends your regards to Tropical Coco. He was the one that had the armor that was that melted people if they touched it. Have a good evening, everybody, and we'll talk. We'll read more later. Probably tomorrow or the next day, maybe we'll read the next chapters of How Successful Lead by John C. Maxwell. Thank you for coming through and having fun and talking with us. HelloFresh, you know, get the code, use the thing, join our Discord, Discord.gg/Martesian. Follow, help expand the channel so that I can do more with more stuff. Have a good night, everybody, and be well.
You are pardoned.
I'm fine.
But yes, have faith in the Imperials.
Have a set of wooden instruments. It's I'll be this much.